This time we'll start with the JavaScript demo. So I've added a new button, and here we have code similar to what we had in the last example. But this time, instead of just showing the titles of the lists, we want to show the titles of their fields. So the first thing I need to do is do the nested include. So here, in addition to bringing back the title, I want to bring back the fields. And inside of here, I just want to include the title of the field. So again, we're saying we want the fields property, but we just want to include the title property of each of the fields. And now down here, where we're writing out the names of the lists, we can now just basically do the same kind of code to write out the names of the fields. So I'll just paste this code into here and change alenum to fenum. And this is going to be list.getFields.getEnumerator. And then I want to go fenum.next. And then now here we'll say field is equal to fenum.getCurrent. We'll write out a break tag, and then we'll just indent this a little bit by adding in some non-breaking spaces. So let's add, say, 4 of those. 2, 3, 4. And then now, instead of the list get title, I want to write out the field get title. Okay, so with that done, we should be able to hit F5. And then click the nested includes button. Oh, and we get an exception. Field is undefined. Oh, that's because I made a mistake here. So let's just try this again. So that shouldn't be fields. That should just be field. All right, so let's hit F5 and click the nested includes. And there we go. We can see that we get the title of the site and then the title of the categories list and then its fields and so on. Now, we got a lot of fields coming back for each item, so let's just limit that a little bit. Instead of writing out all the fields, let's just write out the first 5. So I'll say here var I is equal to 0. And then down here, I'll add if I ++ is greater than 5, then we'll just break out of the loop. All right, let's try this guy. And there we go. A little bit easier to see. So this is how we can use nested includes over here on the JavaScript side. Now let's take a look at how we can do the same thing in the managed code implementations of the client object model. Okay, so I've added the new button, and I've partially implemented the event handler. We're going to show the titles of all the lists, very similar to what we did in the last example. So now, in addition to getting the title, we want to get the fields. So, So L goes to L.fields, and we want to limit what's brought back for each of the fields to just include the title. So that will be F goes to F.title. And normally you see this format is sort of like this. And then now down here, when we iterate through the items, we want to show not only the list titles, but we want to show the titles of the fields. So that'll be for each var field in list.fields. We want to write out to the list box. Let me just copy and paste this code here. We want to write out a tab key, and then we want to write out the field title. So tab plus the field dot title. Okay, hit F5, click the button, and there we go. We can see we get all of our lists, and we get the fields. And if I want to limit the amount of fields shown here, I can go and put, same thing we did before. So I can say var I is equal to 0. And then in the loop, I could go ahead and increment I and check for a result. But instead of doing it that way, in the managed implementations, I can actually do it this way. So I can say fields.include f.title.take 5. So if you look at the include method, it returns an iQueryable, which means we can use the standard link expressions against it. So now if I hit F5, and click nested includes, there you can see we're only bringing back the first 5 items. And maybe I want to filter this even further. I don't want to bring back hidden fields. So here I could say where f goes to f dot hidden is equal to false. And then hit F5. Oh, sorry, I think I missed a bracket there. Now hit F5. And then click that, and we don't get any hidden fields coming back. In the managed implementations of the client object model, if you're not a fan of the LINQ syntax, you can use the extension methods with load to get the same results you would if you used a LINQ query and then load query. Now, coming back to the concept of just the nested includes, unfortunately, you can't use this technique to get all of the lists and all of their items because the list type doesn't have an items property. If we come back over here and then say L goes to L dot items, you can see we have item count, but we don't have an items property. What we do have instead is a get items method. But I can't call a method in association with this nested includes functionality. Now, we haven't seen get items yet, but this is the method we can use to perform camel queries on lists in the client object model. And this is the subject of our next section.